The most drama ever on paternity court.
Does she even say dad? Who's she gonna say it to?
She say dad, but
To the air?
to nobody.
That's a shame.
I'm telling you, people talk. People know people in Thomasville. I'm sorry. You're gonna know. I don't need a dad now. I needed one then. When I was growing up, I needed a dad in my family.
Are you gonna do all the
I
talking?
needed that.
Let me
I'm
talk.
telling you how I feel.
Most of the time, women just want to drag men into paternity schemes, but sometimes they lose control and end up separating their babies from their fathers. That's why Mr. Butterfield has summoned his ex-girlfriend, Miss Bracknell, into court. Will she act all crazy in front of Judge Lauren as well?
She had told me when we were breaking up, she said, "Thank you for the gift." And I said, "What gift was that?"
And it wasn't till later that you found out she was pregnant.
That is correct. You're right.
And then when you found that out, you thought to yourself, was that the gift?
The baby?
Yeah, you thought
My daughter? Yes.
that's what you thought.
Yes, Your
When she said
daughter.
thank you for the gift, you said, oh, that's what she was talking about.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Butterfield feels really emotional that he couldn't witness his daughter's birth or even cut her umbilical cord. Meanwhile, this entire time, Miss Bracknell has been calling him a jerk and trying to sabotage his relationship with his daughter. Whose side will Judge Lauren take?
Now, when you left Mr. Butterfield and went back to Mr. Dallas, you were pregnant at that time.
No.
When did you find out you were pregnant?
Honestly, I didn't find out until 3 months after I did move out of his house because I was having irregular periods.
Now, Miss Bracknell is engaged to another man and she's already got 3 kids with him. That's why she's convinced he's the father. On top of that, her daughter's features really resemble Mr. Dallas instead of Mr. Butterfield. In fact, Mr. Dallas even brought evidence.
August, her and Jesse split up. September, we was getting
Together, moved
We
in.
were
So this calendar outlines relationship with Mr. Butterfield and Ms. Bracknell ended and when she came back to you.
Yeah.
Cara was conceived in mid-September and she was born in June.
Yes,
June
ma'am.
10th.
So it's basically 2 men trying to figure out if they're this beautiful girl's father. But Mr. Butterfield says Mr. Dallas is lying. Does that mean the evidence submitted is false? Mr. Butterfield claims he was still having sex with Miss Bracknell even after they broke up.
After that, all the way up until October 8th is the last time we had sex, because I remember, I can take a lie detector
October?
test if you want to prove it.
So you
Up in the
said-
mountains, up in the hills. You don't remember that, right? You remember, right?
I wasn't we weren't together.
Asking me for money for gas so you can go see him.
Yeah, I so asked you for money, huh?
Yeah.
You were still having sex with Miss Bracknell till October.
When they started yelling at each other to have the lie detector test, Judge Lauren has to ask for order and tell them only the paternity test will be more than enough. At this point, the judge has to ask if Mr. Dallas would be willing to raise Cara as his daughter, but Mr. Butterfield ends up interrupting him.
Before today, I love her the same. You know what? With this, he's actually made our family stronger than trying to push us apart what he's been trying to
That's
do.
good. I'm not trying to get her back. I'm just trying to be in my daughter's life.
No, you just have a...
Yeah, you named her. Yeah, from what I hear, you named her after what? Your grandma? And she's got your last name? That'll change very soon.
No.
Oh no, wait, whoa.
Cara Christine Dallas is what it's gonna stick with.
With the 2 men shouting at each other, Miss Bracknell ends up losing all of her control and starts accusing Mr. Butterfield of stalking her family. She's only lying because she doesn't want Mr. Butterfield to ruin the family she's built. Why else would she hide her pregnancies from him?
It's like a pattern. She'll run to him, she'll run to
From
another guy
people
that she cheated on me on my birthday.
I did not cheat on you.
She was gone with her ex on my
Making it
birthday,
dramatic.
and then come crawling back after that.
She was gone with Mr. Dallas or somebody else?
Somebody else. There could be more than one person
No.
that she's been with.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Really?
Miss Bracknell insists that once she got back with Mr. Dallas, she didn't have any sexual relations with Mr. Butterfield. This excuse throws him out of the window of conception, but Mr. Butterfield won't rest easy until he's got the answers. Time to reveal the results.
Cara's biological father is Mr. Butterfield.
What did I tell you?
You ain't getting her.
What?
So you were correct, Mr. Butterfield.
I just want to see her.
Mr. Hollins is going head-to-head against Miss Anderson today because he's tired of this woman accusing him of fathering her daughter Chloe. He's been paying the child support for years, and after all this time, he's done with Miss Anderson's lies and games.
I failed to appear to court because I didn't want to
take a DNA test and have to pay for it all by myself.
I offered to go half with Mr. Hollins, but he wanted me to pay the whole thing. And he never went to court to take the DNA test. 4 times. He failed to appear 4 times.
Your Honor, that's
4
not right.
times you failed to appear?
No.
Now, right from the start, it seems like Mr. Hollins didn't believe the child was his. Then why didn't he show up for the DNA test? Because of his own errors, he now has to pay child support as well as healthcare expenses. But then Miss Anderson starts lying in court.
You were ordered to pay child support and you've been paying it.
Yes, ma'am.
No, Your Honor. I received $100 from Mr. Hollins.
No, she lying. I didn't pay $400. They take money out my check.
Take me back in this relationship. So were you boyfriend and girlfriend? What is?
At one point in time, we was in a relationship. I liked her. You feel me? I was feeling her.
Was she your girlfriend?
Yeah, she was my girlfriend.
Once Miss Anderson found out Mr. Hollins had gotten another woman pregnant, her temper blew through the roof. There was no way she was going to keep calm in this situation. So she ended up confronting him, and boy, did it make her lose her mind.
I then called Mr. Hollins and I asked Mr. Hollins about it. He thought it was funny. We were on the 3-way with a girl. He didn't know that I was on the phone, and he basically said if he couldn't have both of us, he didn't want neither of us.
That is not how it went.
He thought it was all a joke. I wasn't gonna take it serious.
So you continue the relationship?
Yeah.
Then Mr. Hollins begins accusing Miss Anderson of having a secret affair behind his back. She even went on a road trip with this guy, and the cherry on the cake was that Mr. Hollins had told Miss Anderson to never cross that line.
Why are you doubtful?
Because I told her to be honest with me and she didn't.
I thought me and Mr. Hollins was better than this. When we got together, we were like best friends almost. The things that like has happened since she was born, stuff that's been said, like I never thought that me and Mr. Hollins would be like this today.
We was cool, we was in a relationship, everything was good.
After that, they broke up, and then Mr. Hollins was stalking her on Facebook when he found out she had a baby. Mr. Hollins had no idea that she was pregnant, and when the judge asks Miss Anderson why she hid it from him, she says she didn't know either.
I did not know I was pregnant until the day I had her. I went to the emergency due to back pain. When I got in the emergency, the lady said you have like a lot of fluid around your stomach. So I said, get it out. And she basically said, are you pregnant? I said no. She then did an ultrasound on my stomach.
Really?
Go through all this, but I don't find out.
According to her conception calendar, Miss Anderson had sex with 2 men around the time she conceived baby Chloe. Mr. Hollins thinks this crazy woman played 2 men, but there's a baby on the line here, and it's about her paternity. Jerome will now bring out the results.
Mr. Hollins, you are her father.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrison is absolutely tired of Miss Grant's scheming ways. Ever since he's known her, she's acted nothing but crazy. So now, he's going to get her in court. He was forced to sign the paternity documents for their daughter, but he's here to prove her wrong because she cheated on him.
She doesn't look like she has anything.
Miss Grant, you do admit you cheated, is that correct?
Yes, I had a relationship with a man that I'd met when I was very young. I met him when I was 18 years old. He was a good friend to me.
Mr. Harrison, when did you find out about this
Your Honor,
when he went snooping through
I
my phone.
have to say, she had this affair with this person for 15 years. I've only been with her for 8.
For Mr. Harrison, it's been a pretty rocky ride being with this woman who has been cheating on him for 8 years. But the question is, how did he ever find out in the first place? It was when he bought them a new washer and he was asking her to help him. But instead, guess what she did?
Got upset and she said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore.
I didn't want to have to keep lying to him, Your Honor. I got tired of, being dishonest and being disrespectful in my relationship. And I gave him every option to, decide what he wanted to do. And so I decided that instead of letting somebody else blackmail me like my so-called friend had done.
How about honesty? How about honesty 7 years ago?
Mr. Harrison is just sick of all the drama and how every time this woman loses her control, he's the one who has to suffer. Now, Miss Grant's flaunting her extramarital affair to everyone in the court. She says this guy helps her with the finances, and he even makes her feel loved. How's that fair to Mr. Harrison?
Because I've asked her several times throughout this entire 8-year relationship she's ever cheated. Absolutely not. I would never cheat on you.
Mr. Harrison is suing you.
Yes, ma'am.
For paternity fraud.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he says he signed the acknowledgement of paternity under false pretenses because he feels like you misled him, lied.
Yes.
Even if Miss Grant says she didn't conceive her child while she was cheating, there's no way Mr. Harrison can believe her so easily. But Miss Grant was so blinded by love and her affair, she wanted Mr. Harrison to leave right away. Being a man, Mr. Harrison could never leave his children like that.
You really?
Say this, I had major ankle surgery in February of 2014. She decided that was the time she wanted to break up, and while I'm immobile, I can't even get up from the couch. After major ankle surgery, she was dolling up and darting out the door while I had to watch the kids on crutches, couldn't even get off the couch.
And despite this, you still wanted to be with her?
Absolutely.
Once Mr. Harrison starts talking about Miss Grant's mistakes, she loses her temper. She can't sit there and watch this man lie through his teeth when the truth is he's cheated on her too. And not just once, he did multiple times. Mr. Harrison's defense is that he was already being manipulated by Miss Grant, and that's how she defrauded him.
Do you also admit Ms. Grant basically defrauding him, basically saying this is your child when you knew for certain that it was not his child? Did you do that?
No, ma'am. I knew 100% that she was his child because she was conceived during a blizzard. The other person doesn't like the cold weather, and he went to Florida.
Even when Miss Grant shows him proof of conceiving their daughter in the blizzard, Mr. Harrison refuses to believe it. Judge Lauren understands why Mr. Harrison has a hard time believing his wife. After all, she's been lying to him for 8 years straight. That sure makes a man lose all sense of reality.
The stakes are very high,
Yes,
and it's
ma'am.
not just this relationship on the line. There's an entire family.
Five people inside the
More
house
than
right
five
now
people.
are affected by what's going on.
More than 5 people.
And you,
I have people right now telling me that I ought to be ashamed of myself for even being here to prove to this man who I am in love with at this very moment, even though he is accusing me.
But are they even going to believe her after the 15-year-long affair she's had? She can get all emotional in the courtroom, and Judge Lauren can get on her side. But the truth is, she fooled this man for so long. Now, only the results will help them out of this mess.
Mr. Harrison, you are her father.
I told you.
For Mr. Fritz, finding his daughter for the last 30 years has been one huge mission. He thinks he found her on Facebook, and that's why he's dragged Miss Agee into court today. But it seems like Miss Agee might have other plans.
He's on my birth certificate. The guy that's on my birth certificate was not my biological father. He was married to my mother when I was born, but I do know who my biological father is. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I started asking questions about who my real father was, and my grandmother was the one who raised me. She told me my biological father was Buster. That's the only person she knew as my biological father.
So Miss Agee has a legal father and a biological father, and now she thinks Mr. Fritz is purposefully driving her crazy by coming into her life. There's no way he's her father, and she's going to lose all control if this paternity case gives her any kind of pain.
You say you're my dad, but if you're my dad, then you would have come looking for me. You say you come looking for me, but obviously you didn't come looking for me because I live in Thomasville, a little town that you can find me. You found me when I was already married under my married name. You didn't find me under my maiden name. My maiden name, you couldn't find me. I live in a small town. I can go in the middle of the town and scream out Danny Fritz, and they're gonna hear me.
Mr. Fritz explains that he spent a long time searching for Miss Agee, but he spent much of that time in prison, so he didn't have it easy. At this point, Mr. Fritz shares pictures of Miss Agee as a baby with him. When she sees those pictures, she definitely ends up confused, while Mr. Fritz talks about how he kept searching for her.
When I went up there and couldn't find you through your court records and stuff, I went back to the house, I regrouped. Every time I went to visit my family, and that's where she lives at, when I went to find her, we would go and look for you.
I don't believe it. You're gonna know. I don't need a dad now. I needed one then. When I was growing up, I needed a dad in my family.
Are you gonna do all the talking?
I needed that.
Let me talk.
I'm telling you how I feel.
Well, let me tell you how I feel.
When he first contacted her, Miss Agee felt like the ground would swallow her whole. How could this man leave her fatherless for 30 years and now wants to be back in her life? It didn't make any sense to her. But if she thinks he's not her father, why is she so angry at him?
Anger that you feel, it's almost counterintuitive. It's I know this man is not my father because I know who my father is.
But then I have a gentleman telling me that he is my father. If he's my dad, why wasn't he there? Why didn't he look for me hard enough to find me? When a guy that's supposed to be my biological dad found me.
Maybe the reason why Miss Agee's losing control over Mr. Fritz is because she had to grow up without a mom or a dad, and now her entire world feels uprooted. She doesn't want another man to hurt her, and maybe she's trying to protect herself.
That ain't gonna happen,
in my
man.
life, and I don't want to be
You
hurt
ain't gonna
anymore.
be by yourself no more. I'm gonna tell you that. And I love you, and you know that, Angel. Since the first day I got back with you and found you, I told you I would never hurt you, and I love you. And I'll tell you what, the love I got in my heart never gonna go away, and you're never gonna be alone. I'm here to help you. I'm here to be your daddy.
For Mr. Fritz, the stakes are incredibly high. He doesn't have any other children, and it's pretty clear he's trying to do his best to get back into this woman's life. Now the question is, will Miss Agee let that happen? Will she stay mad at him?
In her mind and heart, she was told another man was her father. He let her down. She's got to put herself out there again, and there is a risk here for her that she's setting herself up to be let down
She
again,
won't be let
to be
down.
hurt again.
Exactly.
She won't be let down. I don't care what that piece of paper says.
So, despite all of Miss Agee's anger, Mr. Fritz promises to be a part of her life and to be her father in whatever capacity is possible. It's understandable why she doesn't want to go through this pain all over again, but let's hope the results provide her some peace.
It has been determined by this court.
I am her
Mr.
daddy.
Fritz, you are her father.
Yes!